All right, the season is in effect. We've been out on the court. We're working our game. We're taking our pregame onto the court, but we can find that there's breaks, things along the way that we could improve. That's what this show is all about, looking at plays, getting better. How many plays are we going to look at today? We're going to look at 5. Stick around. Greetings, welcome back. 5 Play Friday. My name is Greg Austin with A Better Official. We craft video to help basketball officials get better and take control of their officiating career. One of the ways we do that is we look at plays. We look at 5 plays, try to break down all of the things. What do we want to know when we take to the court? The rules of the game, the mechanics, what's going to happen next, habits and fundamentals. And let's get started today with a you make the call play, as we like to do. What do you have on play number 1?
Timeout.
All right, timeout granted on this play. A lot going on, rules, points of emphasis, mechanics. What do you have on this play? Put your ruling down below in the comments. We can talk about it there. And of course, stick around to the end of the show. We'll talk about play number 1, and we'll look at all of the things. All right, with that, let's move on now to play number 2. All right, new for 2023, we have a new rule allowing players to legally leave the court. The one restriction on that, though, is that a player may not leave the court voluntarily and then be the first to touch the basketball upon returning. And that is exactly what we have on this play. Great get by our calling official. One that leads us to, okay, what's going to happen next? In this situation, is there going to be confusion in the gymnasium? Yes, there is. Right. So this player chooses to voluntarily leave the court. Let's take a look at this action by our player. Throw in to start the period. Right, so the player on the baseline, on the end line rather, voluntarily runs out of bounds using that part of the gymnasium and is the first to receive the basketball. But this is a violation, rather, by rule. Where would our subsequent throw-in be? It would probably be at the spot nearest to where they touched, which is going to lead to a situation of who's going to handle the resulting throw-in. We notice our old trail says, okay, I'll become the new lead at the other end. Right, so we want to know what happens next. Is this situation going to cause confusion in our game? Yes, nobody is going to know what is going on. The stakeholders in the game, even though it's a new rule, there's still confusion about this rule, but this is the correct ruling. We also note that our official uses the collegiate mechanic of a delayed violation, extending one arm like a delayed free throw violation, as a mnemonic to recognize, hey, I've got a player going out of bounds, right? Is that an approved mechanic by NFHS? No. Is that helpful? Yes. Yes. So we can do all, maybe we can clench a fist if we really want to not violate the sanctity of using only approved signals, National Federation of High School. But this is a great job, a great get by our calling official on this play. Let's be really clear, though. Know what happens next. Designate the spot for the resulting throw-in so that your crew in a 3-person game can know exactly what's going to happen next. Of course, our calling official will be the one administering the throw-in. If it's on the far side of the court, our crew needs to know how to move on the play. So that's a great way to approach things, to know what happens next. But this is a great get by our calling official on this play. So that play emphasizes a new rule for 2023. Of course, having rules knowledge is critical. We need to know the rules in the game. Another thing that's important is you have a strong crew, and we have a strong crew here at A Better Official and 5 Play Friday. We've got a great group of show supporters. Give me an opportunity to thank them for that support. Who's up on the big board today? Brett Adams, Gene Boeglin, Yeung Yip, Chuck Ratliff, and Darren Hansen. Much appreciated. Much love. You want to support the show? I will make sure there's a link down in the show notes below and in the first pinned comments, and I'll make sure to put one somewhere. Yeah, let's move on. Next play.
Falcon fans are on their feet. Gillo's on Moselle. Terman's on Carpenter. Lang inbounds to Moselle. 14 seconds.
Back off. Play a little zone.
Carpenter's on the right wing. He's going to set a screen now. Cuts left down low. Moselle can't find him. Into the corner. Woolen drives. Dumps out. Moselle's got a drive. He's in.
No.
And the buzzer.
No, they called a foul.
Devontae
They did
Mooney
not
comes
call a
in
foul.
with a
They did
whistle.
not call a foul.
They're going to talk about it here.
No foul.
The foul is on Reese Ketron. That's number 5.
How much time's left on the clock
And
then?
with no time currently on the clock.
Oh,
With no time currently on the
No.
clock.
yo.
The officials are not going to put any time on the clock as Moselle is going to shoot free throws. And an unbelievable circumstance here. Unbelievable.
That is terrible. That is a terrible call if he calls that.
What a call.
That is
Holy
an
cow.
amateur call.
Finishes it. The Virginia High Bearcats take a 59-58 win over the Abingdon Falcons. They're going to shake hands. And administrators on the floor. Just an unbelievable circumstance here. And I'm out of words here, Coach. I don't know.
It's really bad. I mean, we don't call that often, but it was just a very strange call to end the game.
Honestly, I think if you go back and watch it on NFHS, you're going to see contact. But I think you also are going to see far less contact than they let go all night long. And in the moment right there, that is a tough spot.
All right, last second foul ruled. Is there time? We're disadvantaged here by the frame rate of the video. Was there time that could be recognized by the crew on the play? In the end, the recognition was that the timer was unable to stop the clock prior to the horn sounding. We, in this situation, correctly clear the lane for the resulting free throws. If one of the free throws is made, the game is over. That is what occurs on this play. Our crew leaves the court. There is some activity between our visiting players and a student section, which is, of course, not under the purview of the crew that left the floor. But let's look at the play itself. Right. So I will say this, right? So at a recent training, Sheree Mitchell, NBA official, talking to the crew in an end of game situation, and she said it's absolutely critical to understand the consequence of your whistle. Understand the consequence of your whistle in an end of game situation. If we make an error, a mistake, a misjudgment, etc., this team would have no opportunity to correct that. This is going to be a judgment call about whether this is a foul or not, and that's all really straightforward. But let's go back. What's our mindset in this situation? Teams inbounding the ball with 15 seconds to go in a tie game. Both teams are in the bonus. What is our mindset in this situation? This is a part of the game where we want to be excellent, right? So let's just keep that in mind. We want to know the consequence of our whistle. If we rule a foul, free throws are going to result, right? So let's look at that. This player drives. We've got an outside defender who's the responsibility of the center official here. We've got a secondary defender who establishes in the path and yields. Does our secondary defender get that foot down prior? They have established their position. Is it before the player leaves the ground? I think it is. I think it is. I think our secondary defender here is legal and yielding their contact. And so we have a foul by the lead. Our center official is coming in simply to provide information. And then our lead official says, no, you take the call, thinking that his partner had made the call. Do we end up, affects our display of certainty? And this is a high certainty situation, right? Right. So one of the things we like to think about here at A Better Official is that this has to be an obvious foul to put a foul in the game in this situation. Right? Our announcers suggest that this has not been a foul all night long. We don't know just looking at the clip. But we want high certainty in end-of-game situations. We want fouls to be obvious in end-of-game situations. What happens if we put a no call or we rule a no call in this situation? What happens next? Our teams go to overtime and they have a chance to compete to see who wins the game. So, key takeaways from this situation. Understand the situation in the game. Have the mindset that we are going to make rulings on obvious things. And in the absence of that, what are we going to have? We're going to have overtime. That would be my takeaway as a crew. Do we have the ability as a crew to put time back on the clock here? Was there any awareness? It seems as though there's a gap between, although our on-screen screen is not helpful, there's a gap between when the foul occurred, the foul that was ruled occurred, and when the horn sounded. Do we have awareness as a crew of time that should be put back on the clock in this situation? Yeah, so we want to be great in end-of-game situations. That is true. That's obvious, right? And we want to know the consequence of our whistle. We don't want to put things into the game that haven't been in the game previously, and we want to have discipline in the end-of-game situations as well. All right, fantastic. Hey, that play was submitted by Chuck Ratliff. If you want to submit a play, you can always follow the link here. I'll put it in the description. I'll put it in the first pinned comment, and I will put it up above. Submit your play, and it may appear on 5 Play Friday. All right, with that, let's move on. Next play.
Dribble handoff to Stanton as he carries it across the frame. Lost the handle. Dingman deflects it. Schumacher's able to get it back. Schumacher loses his feet, gets his dribble back, gets it to Stanton on the wing for 3 off the backboard. Loose ball. Quaddy gets on the floor. Jump ball.
Going to stay with the Cougars at the possession arrow.
And the Cougars will get it underneath with the possession arrow. Dickens into the corner for Miller.
All right, a play near the division line ruled legal by our crew. Is this a legal play? What do you have on this play? This is an unusual play. It's not simple in our evaluation, but we have to know the rule and we have to understand the status involved in each situation here. Okay, so let's take a look at the play itself. We have team control on the court, in the front court. That's the first element, of course, that we have to have for a backcourt violation. Our player in black, why we have black and red, I don't know, but our player in black loses control of the basketball and an opponent bats the ball into the air, right? We know that if the defense causes the ball to gain backcourt status, it's not a violation. But what happens next on this play? A player with front court status jumps from their front court, catches the ball in the air, and lands in the back court. And we're familiar with, well, wait a minute, that's part of some rule. There's an exception, right? Except the exception applies during a throw-in. So we had a situation where a team was in team control. They were the last to touch the ball in the front court and then caused the ball to gain backcourt status. This is a backcourt violation by rule. This is a play that's going to be hard to process. We need to, right? And we have to give ourselves a license, of course, to do a high process in this situation. Could we come back after the ball has been dribbled into the front court and the player appears to be fouled, and then make a ruling? Yes, we can. Right? This is going to be a high processing play, but this is a backcourt violation by rule. And this is a play that we want to get right in our game. To officiate the game, we've got to know the rules. Knowing backcourt rules and restrictions is a great skill to have, and fortunately, I've created a course that is now free. If you use the code on the screen, you can access the free mini course, never miss another backcourt call. Again, use the code on the screen. I will put it in the show description, the first pinned comment. Okay, I'll do it. I'll put it up above. All right, let's move on. Next play.
To Libis. Tigers in a zone here now. To Miller. Stolen by Albright. We're going to get a technical foul on St. Mary's coach. Not sure what's going on here. Lisa's asking some questions. And he must stay seated with that technical foul. Tigers now 3-point lead
All right, not something you see every day, right? Our opposing coach, player makes a steal, is going the other way. The coach reaches out, bats the ball out of bounds. Wow, what do you have on this play? This is not something you see every day. Our center is in great position to see everything about the play, recognizes it immediately, assesses a technical foul, engages with our opposing coach, who maybe is thinking that this should rise to the level of flagrant, technical. Do you have that on this play? Our calling official never engages our crew in this situation. Right? One of the habits and fundamentals we want to have in a technical foul situation is to work together with your team. You have a team on the court. You have a team of officials who may help with the ruling, the adjudication, the procedure, etc. Don't want to be on an island when we make rulings such as this. Do we want to make this engagement with the coach until after we have conferred with our partners, reported the foul, right? Then maybe have a discussion, etc. Just some areas for improvement here, I think, right? We want our first reaction to be to make our ruling what we have on the court. Go to our partners, go to at least one partner in this situation, say what we have. Is this a play? And the other partner may say, hey, we need to talk about what level of technical foul this is. That should be flagrant. I'm fighting for that. He can't do that. That's a flagrant act to do that. It's unsporting beyond the pale. Our calling official may say, no, he just simply reached out. It was a reflex, etc. Right? But get together with your crew, right? You will have more power as a crew in that situation. So that's a takeaway I would have. Not a play you see every day. Obviously, a technical foul on the head coach. In your opinion, does it rise to the level of flagrant? I don't know that it does to me. But that's something we would potentially want to talk about as a crew. Obviously, it's going to be 2 free throws for any player or eligible substitute and the ball for division line throw-in, just as this crew did. So a great play to look at. Not something we see every day, and it's great to just see the play, recognize it could possibly happen, and look at our habits and fundamentals when something unusual happens in the game. Hey, back at the start of the show, we had play number 1, a You Make the Call play. What do you have on play number 1?
Timeout. Oh, 5 minutes.
All right, what do we have on this play? Ball gets loose. Player sees the ball on the floor, dives, takes out a red player who is also competing for the ball. Red player falls on the white player. What do we have there? We have a white player sitting on the division line, contacting the basketball with their leg, then batting it to a teammate. The teammate attempts to pick up the ball, fails to do so, and our trail official grants the timeout on the play. Subsequently, we have some weird mechanics where the lead comes over to administer the throw-in. That's disconcerting as well. And our calling official engages with the opposing coach on the floor in this situation, right? So these are all the things we have to address. So first of all, right, does the play itself rise to the level of a foul in this instance? Players are both competing for the basketball. White, neither has an obvious advantage in this situation. White attempts to gain the basketball, rolls on top of the basketball, taking out the legs of the red player. I have a no call related to this activity. That's what my brain says. But subsequently, we have a player sitting on the division line who contacts the basketball. That is a backcourt violation by rule. We need to know the backcourt violation rules. We grant a timeout in the last year or a couple of years ago. Points of emphasis, make sure that we have player control on the court before we grant a timeout. Trail did a great job of trying to wait, but ultimately we never really gained that player control on the court. Do a great job of reporting, allowing teams to get to their benches, right? Reporting. I'd like to see us walk the coach back to their area in this instance. Does the assistant coach get to be a part of that communication, etc.? These are small nits, etc. Why our lead official comes to administer the resulting throw-in, I don't know on this play. So, takeaways on this play. The obvious part is that this is a backcourt violation that was missed. Backcourt violation by rule. You may have had a foul related to the dive on, which it was not, or the taking out of the legs, which happened in the situation. But, yeah, that's what we had on play number one. Backcourt violation. Let's look at a bonus play. All right. Do you have a foul on this play? Is that illegal contact? Wait, what? You have something else? You have something else on this play? Oh, fantastic, right? So we have a jump ball to start a game. We have teams playing basketball. Unfortunately, our players are going in the wrong direction, right? So this emphasizes a couple of things. At the start of the game, all of the human beings on the court, even after players have warmed up, etc., the human beings on the court do not quite have their bearings yet. As a crew, do we have our bearings on this play? No, we don't. And is that something that we would sometimes expect to happen in our game? It happens. It happens. It also points out that if basketball players play basketball in the wrong direction, it's not uncommon for everybody to adjust. It's just like those birds in flight where the lead bird changes direction and the entire flock changes direction. It can happen in the game. Basketball players are used to ad hoc changes in situations, and they're without bearings in this situation. What do we do? Right? It was not recognized when it occurred. The correct ruling here would be black gains team control. They dribble into the backcourt. That's a backcourt violation. But if we have a situation where basketball is played in the wrong direction and a foul is ruled in this situation, what is our guidance? Do we go back and re-jump the basketball? What do we do in this situation, right? Correct ruling here would be that we have a foul. We have it on white. It's going to be a black throw-in or dark blue throw-in, and we're going to go to the appropriate spot at the other end of the court and resume the game with all scoring fouls that have occurred during this period where we had this time of confusion would stand. We would rectify the situation, bring the ball in, have the players point, or the teams pointing in the correct direction. So a great play to see. Hopefully it won't happen in your game. If it does, is it the end of the world? No, it happens. It happens. There's human beings involved. Sometimes without bearings, we can get a, hey, if this is the video content you find valuable as a basketball official, great time to do all of the things. Hit like. It really helps us with the YouTube algorithm. Gets us in front of more basketball officials so that we can all get better together. Appreciate you sticking around to the end of the show. What I'd like to do now is thank our tremendous show supporters who help fuel our broadcast. Brett Adams, Gene Boeglin, Yeung Yip, Chuck Ratliff, and Darren Hansen. Much appreciated. Much love. You want to support the show, you can always buy us a coffee. I'll put a link in the show description. I will put one in the first pinned comment. And yes, I'll put it above the Christmas tree. Fantastic. We have additional video content. Here is a video on backcourt rules and restrictions. Here is a link to the course on backcourt rules and restrictions. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you in the very next video. Take care, everybody.